Good afternoon and welcome to CNC and the AEC. I'm Crystal Pierce with FFKR Architects.
And I'm Cassie Wells with Modern Business Development. Today we are talking about, we're kind of picking up where we left off a couple episodes ago. We went over how to successfully book a meeting. Okay. There are multiple steps. You want to pick somewhere that's convenient for them, make it easy on them, don't pressure them.
So now
Send
we
dates.
have the meeting.
Now we have our meeting book,
We're
Crystal.
ready to go.
What do we do next?
We need to prepare for the meeting.
Meeting prep.
Meeting prep.
Okay.
Preparing for the meeting.
Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one.
We're back in these chairs, so I just feel
I don't know what to do with myself in these chairs.
No.
It's a natural hug.
Yes.
So let's talk about a couple instances. The first instance is prepping for a meeting with someone you've never met,
Yes.
right?
So if you actually have not met the person yet, the first thing we need to do is stalk them. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Follow them home from work every day.
We need to do some research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super simple. I hop on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they see that I hopped on LinkedIn because it'll tell them, Cassie just viewed your profile, which I'm always kind of like, ooh, I don't want anyone to see that I looked at them. I feel like this is okay if they see that you looked at them because then they know you're
Yes.
doing your homework.
Because I think it's good to know, one, you need to know a little bit about their background. You need to research their company, how your companies are going to be able to align. So then you're not actually just walking into the meeting blind.
Right.
We've talked about this before, and one of our biggest pet peeves is actually sitting down for a meeting and the other person saying to us, I have no idea what your company does.
I don't mind it as much. I feel like it's an opportunity to like lay it out, but at the same time, it's a little bit
I
insulting. And
think
especially
you should have somewhat of an idea
of what they
of
do.
what they do.
I get it. I get it. But every time someone asks me that, I'm like, ooh, great. Now I get to talk about my company.
Well, you are
Hooray.
there to talk about your company,
I know.
obviously.
Yes. Well, yes and no. There are some meetings I show up.
Well,
Not talking about.
a
We'll
little
get
bit.
there. We'll
Yeah,
get there.
we'll get there. We will
I'm
get there.
jumping
But
ahead.
yes.
One real important fact that you want to have about the person is their name.
The
Their
name is
name.
important. The
That's the cool
name
thing
is
about
important,
the name is important.
right?
Weekly, I am called Casey. Here, PSA, my name is Cassie.
Yes.
And I know y'all in like first grade learned how to spell. So I know you know how to spell my name
And I
and say it.
suggest, even when sending emails, to check how to spell the person's name.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
Couldn't hurt.
that's not a big deal to
No,
people.
on a side note, not prepping for a meeting, writing an email back, check how to spell their name when you're
Yeah,
writing.
because a
Hi.
lot of times people spell my name wrong.
See, they don't spell my name wrong.
No, they
say
spell
it
my
wrong.
name wrong, but
And
yeah.
listen, I could go by Casey, but it still kind of hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
Like a
Got it.
little tiny jab to the ego.
So
But that's
first
the
thing
beauty of
is
stalking someone on
definitely,
LinkedIn.
yes,
Look them up.
researching.
And when they walk in for coffee, you already know what they look like.
True.
That's
Because
cool. Because then you
hopefully,
don't have to be like,
most people do have a
are you
picture.
tall? No, you're not tall.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, you know?
Right.
One thing that has happened with both Crystal and I is we will meet someone or introduce ourselves to someone. You know, hi, I'm Cassie. And they look at us and they're like, we've met you. And I'm like, ah. So I like to have grace with people that I've met. And perhaps there's sometimes I'll email people for years and not actually meet them in person. And when I meet them, they're like, I should know who they are, but if I've only met them through Teams or through emails, like I might not know.
Right.
And then as soon as I realize who they are, I'm like, oh yeah, we go way back, even though I don't know your face right now. And I think that's something that people get offended by, and I try really hard not to get offended by that when someone introduces themselves. I just try to gently, like, actually, yeah, we did meet at this event in December. It was super brief, no big deal. I try to let them off the hook because when you're in business development at these networking events, there are sometimes you're meeting 100 people in a night,
All the time. And then
all the
sometimes
time.
after you've met all those people, months go by. And if you didn't have your
Years.
card on you and if we didn't exchange cards,
I might not
maybe
remember your
the
name
time
with
passed and we
that
don't quite
face.
remember. Right.
Yeah. Or there are
Right.
times where I'm like, I know your face. Remind me again your name. I feel like you should have some grace. Give some people some grace. Give them a little
Exactly.
bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
It's really hard in this industry. There are hundreds and
Yes.
hundreds,
And there are going to be
hundreds of
times where
people.
I know exactly who you are, but maybe I don't remember your name. But I know who you are, or I remember meeting you at a certain place. But
And there's this thing that happens when you hit a certain age. For me, it was like 28, where your memory sucks and you can't remember anything, and it's really difficult and it's really embarrassing. And try to I try to get over that as best I can with meeting invites and, calendar reminders.
yes.
I'm not perfect, so give me a break
Yeah.
because it's a hard thing to remember sometimes.
Yes.
Um,
So whether
Back to
you've
our
met
meeting.
someone before or if you haven't met them,
Give them some grace.
yes, researching first.
Um, so speaking of, so we've researched the person, we've looked into the
Research
company.
the company,
There are
research the
times
person.
I research the company and I'm like, I don't know what any of that means.
Exactly.
But I don't want them to think I'm lazy. And so I will be like, hello, I looked up your company
Uh-huh.
and I don't understand. You're going to need to help me. I'm going to guess what you do in my own words. And then if you could just gently guide me in the right direction, that would be helpful. And it's not for lack of effort, it's because I don't yet understand what you do.
Yes.
So that's something that I like to do. Uh, so we know about the person, we've scheduled the meeting successfully.
We
Let's
know
talk
about
about
their
the
company going into
as
it.
best we can.
Yes. Now,
Let's talk about where we're meeting.
uh-huh.
Where
This is always tricky.
we have some horror stories, and we're going to share some of those with you so that you don't make the same mistake.
I think the reason also picking and researching to the right location is important is because whether it be coffee or lunch or happy hour, um, sometimes shops are closed on certain days,
Such as
such as um, I know the Gladly is closed on Mondays.
closed on
I
Mondays.
have
Who knew?
found that certain coffee shops don't open until a certain time
Or close
in
at
the
2.
mornings. Or yes, they close early. And then even there are some certain restaurants that don't open for happy hour until like 5. So
Mastros.
just being being sure that the restaurant that you're planning to go to is actually open.
See, and I'm going to guide you through what I thought was doing my due diligence. Okay. I booked a coffee with someone, and this was, like, I don't know, 2 years ago. And I'm like, well, before I book it, I want to do something near them. They were on a specific job site. I was like, I'm going to do a coffee shop near them because I'm so considerate and smart. I research it. I look at the photos. This is lovely,
Mhm.
lovely seating area, plenty of room. I'm going to get there like 10 minutes early just so I can get a table, do the thing that I do. And I show up to this coffee shop and they have shut down the inside of it because of COVID
Mhm.
at the time,
Yep.
still on the tail end of that. And there's nothing except a table outside that had not been cleaned or dusted in years,
Mhm.
and some stacked up chairs and some leaves everywhere. And I was like, well, here we go. And I started cleaning it and I set up the station. Meanwhile, it's 110 degrees outside. I
Mm.
am in a dress. I'm sitting in this dusty table, dusty chair,
Yes.
trying to wait for my person. The coffee shop's still open, but you can only go in and order and take it out.
Exactly.
And so I do that and I'm sitting there having just set up an entire station, and I am so sweaty. And I thought I had done what I was supposed to do. And I'm trying to focus on this meeting, and all I can think about is the fact that I'm sweaty. My dress probably has butt sweat.
Yep.
Have you been there?
Well, so you're
I'm like,
not
I
focusing
don't
then
have
on the
dry
meeting at
shampoo
all.
in my purse.
Yeah.
No, it was distracting. It was because of a location. So be cautious with booking new locations, but there's always going to be a new location. You got to try
Well,
every
you
place
do.
once for the
Yes.
first time. You can't
Yes.
show up having already been everywhere. So for me, I wish I had done maybe a little more research, maybe
Uh-huh.
read some reviews. Hey guys, this place is closed now.
Right.
And leave reviews for other people because that was super embarrassing. I don't know that he even noticed how much I was in distress.
Mm-hmm.
I knew,
Right.
and I
Well, I've had the same
was sad.
experience too during COVID, and you don't know until you get there sometimes. And the shop was open, but then we had to sit outside because you could only order coffee inside. You couldn't sit in there. But then it was opposite. It was just freezing outside. And then, of course, it's just as hard to have a meeting with your teeth shattering. And but I also remember one time you and I had a coffee meeting together. We did our due diligence though when we got there early, and we figured out the parking
Ah,
was
the one
horrible.
in Tempe? I
Yes,
remember that.
but we
I couldn't even park my
it was
truck.
so bad.
It's like, "Crystal!"
We caught it in time
Yes.
and called the person we were meeting with, changed the location to right down the street. It ended up okay, but also you don't want to be doing that last minute.
No, it
But
sucks.
thinking about all those things, parking,
But thank God
time,
I
is it
mean, I was
open?
super early that day, and I remember calling you,
Right.
I'm like, "I'm in a
Yep.
garage, I cannot park my vehicle, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here. You need to call him right now
All of
while
those
I find a
things.
way
Yeah.
to live."
Yeah. So it's not
But
even
it
just
worked
like
out.
thinking when we were talking about meeting etiquette, like what works, what's in between, what's close to them. It's, I mean, scouting the actual location.
There are a lot of coffee shops that are built into apartment complexes just so we're all on the same page.
Well,
Those are difficult sometimes.
and I have to say too, I have personally my favorite coffee shops that I love because they have great coffee and a great atmosphere and great avocado toast. But then you go there and meet with people. You can't find a seat though because it's so
I
busy.
think I know which one you're talking
So
about.
you can't.
'Cause they
I
do have great
I
avocado
I don't
toast.
go there anymore because it's impossible to even find a location to sit with someone and talk to them.
And the last thing you
So,
wanna do is be standing somewhere
mhm,
or try to grab it. "Oh, let's go walk a block to
mhm,
sit on a bench."
yeah.
That's awful.
And I don't also want to go to the place where everyone goes because then you're in your meeting and then everyone else you see, and then you have to stop and talk to them as well. I want to be able to focus on the person that I'm meeting with.
Or go to a place like that, and when you're done with your meeting, hang out for a minute.
Yeah.
Hang out for a minute and
Right.
know you're gonna run into a bunch of people.
Yeah.
There's a place I'm thinking of that happens all the
Right.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that I like to do too when I'm prepping for meetings is you do your research, you be ready, but also I think um, you also need to be prepared though, not to talk about business.
I go into absolutely every single meeting prepared not to talk about
Yeah,
business.
that's kind of my
Because
thing too.
here's the worst case scenario, okay? You meet with someone that doesn't want to talk business,
Hmm.
and at the very least, you have met another human being that is a cool person,
Exactly.
regardless of what they do, regardless of their business, regardless. You have made a connection with another individual and perhaps impacted them in a different way.
Right.
Business will follow.
Exactly.
And you also know the people that sit down and they're like, "Tell me what you do.
Hmm.
What do you do? How can I help you? How can you help me? Like, why are
Yes.
we here?" And you're like,
Yes.
"Okay, you're one of those. I'm here for it. I was
Yeah.
ready. I did my homework. Here's what
Right.
I'm thinking."
Yeah.
And I like to take guesses and let people correct me. I'm like, "Okay, so it sounds to me like this is where you get your leads. Is that correct?" And let them tell me.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're like, "Absolutely not. You're a crazy person." Sometimes they're like, "Bingo." And so I like them to know that I've done my homework. I've already thought about, again, our favorite question, how can I help you?
Hmm.
Right. And sometimes that's business, and sometimes it's personal.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need to leave meetings with high expectations. Just leave with expectations that you met someone. Maybe they can help you.
Right.
Maybe it's the only time you meet with them. That's
Yeah.
okay. That doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that you've met another person. I don't know. I'm having a moment.
Yeah.
This is very,
Well, in
something's
business
happening in my
development
heart, Crystal.
it's the long game.
It
I
is.
mean, it's business development is building, fostering, nurturing relationships. And the main reason that people do business with other people is because they like them. They
You do
trust them.
business with
That's
people,
that's it.
not companies.
Exactly. Exactly.
I firmly
So
believe
I
that.
always go into meetings by preparing,
Mm-hmm.
like we talked about, but also like no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just always want to make people feel comfortable and it should just be a natural meeting. It should just be natural.
Yeah. Don't pressure yourself. And if you see someone's like sweating, not because they're outside and it's 110 and they just set up some dusty tables, but because they're like very nervous,
Right.
just remind them, like, hey, no pressure.
But I think the location is important because the more, I mean, pleasurable the meeting can be, the more easy it's going to go.
Had we been in the environment I saw on Google,
Like if you're in the
it would have
Arctic,
been very comfortable. I
it's
can't
not
speak if it's
very
cold. I don't know how
fun.
you, I cannot speak if it's cold. My lungs freeze up and they'll,
Yeah.
and I can't talk. My body's
Right.
like, ugh, I can't do it. So I
Yeah.
don't know how you did that,
Yeah.
but probably better than me. Like,
I think it's maybe better
um,
cold than super hot like
yeah,
you were.
yeah.
I do think I like to leave a meeting though with always kind of like a goal with the other
Mhm.
person.
Well, and I think people sit down and they're like, oh, this is what you do for a living. Yeah, you can't help me. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, actually, you mentioned you get a lot of your leads from this organization. I'm pretty heavily involved. Can I make some introductions to this organization?
Uh
Or, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, you live on the east side, I live on the east side. I've been looking for a good
huh.
Mexican food
Uh
place.
huh.
And you're like, I
Yeah.
got you,
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter. It's not necessarily can you put money in my pocket
Hmm.
tomorrow. It's not what can you do for me today. It's did we make a connection and could we potentially help one another in the future?
It's, I mean,
Right?
business development. It's a lot like dating. You know,
You
it's like,
vibe with some
hey,
people.
when am I gonna see you again? Am I gonna see you again? Do you think we connected? I don't know. It's not just tell me now. Like, do you have someone else that you like better than me? It's okay.
Call me,
Let's call me
call,
maybe.
call me,
I don't
maybe.
know, but
That's funny. No, but
yeah,
it's yeah, I
it's
mean,
true.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to Abe. It's either a good fit or it's
Yeah.
not. There are some people you sit down with coffee and you're like, "Oh no, no.
Oh, it's not gonna work.
Oh no.
Mm-mm.
Either you hate me
They are not my
or you're
match.
yeah, it's not a good." And you're like,
It's
"It's
okay though.
okay."
It's just
Like
like let's just be honest here.
wish them well. The
Yes, it
end,
was so
right?
nice to meet you.
So, yeah. Um something that I like to do at the beginning of meetings um and at the end is I always like to sit down and say, okay, so we like I did it with our last guest. I'm like, how long do you have?
Uh huh.
Oh, I have a 3:30. Okay, well then we will cut you at that time no matter what because your schedule is important to me. But
Right.
yeah, I like to set that expectation and then follow up. Set the time expectations, set the goals of the meeting. Um, and then I know you like to set specific goals at the end of meetings for like next steps, which I
Mm-hmm.
think are important. I like
Yeah.
setting a tone for a meeting. I feel like that I live there. I'm good at that. That's my jam.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're really good for like, what's next?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we took on those roles when we would meet with people together.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah. So, what are some of the next, like, what's next if you're meeting someone for coffee?
I usually like to kind of plan um when would you like to follow up with each other?
Hmm.
Or I'm going to be at this event in two
Will
weeks.
I see you
Would you
there?
like to join?
Yeah.
Like that's usually how I like to do it.
See, I'd like to do like, okay, I took notes. It looks like there might be a couple people I can introduce you to that might help you, even
Yeah.
though I can't.
Yeah.
And I think that actually sparked a thought for when you're sitting down with someone. If there's a person in the industry that introduced you to, usually it's via email, bring them up. Oh, hey, Crystal introduced us via email. Like remind them I'm that person that she referred.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise you forget. You get a lot, especially in BD, you get a lot. You send a lot, like it's
Mhm.
easy to forget. So remind them, like, oh, Crystal
It is.
connected us, and
Yeah.
people like Crystal. So they're takes a guard down a little bit. I'm not here to sell you anything, right?
Right.
Like we're just here. I think it's important not to come off salesy,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, so
Awesome.
I have a quick question for you. You had a new saying, a new
I
Italian
did.
saying.
Yes.
Are we gonna are you
Sorry.
prepared? Are you choked up about
I'm
it?
really choked up.
It's a very emotional saying.
Sure. Ooh, I'm choking now.
I'm sorry. Jake, throw her some water or something.
Okay. Got a
Tissue.
new saying. Compro calzini y scarpe. Can you say that in Spanish?
You're so unwell right now. Do I need to Heimlich you? Do I need to cut and
Oh no.
are you sure?
Yeah. Sorry, I've been sick.
Oh, that's true. You were sick last
I
week.
was sick last week.
Okay.
Sorry,
Um,
guys.
so she's saying I buy socks and shoes?
Yes.
Okay, so can I say that in
I'm like
Spanish?
worse than Abe right now.
Oh, Abe.
No.
Oh. Um,
I held it in.
yo compro calcetines y zapatos.
Ooh,
I think. I
that
don't
was
know.
good.
Someone that's more fluent will probably correct me later, but
Okay.
that's what I think it is.
I think I said my saying right. I don't even know in my coffee and spell.
I feel like we need to cut. I feel like she's unwell. Um,
I think we're
ciao.
good.
Adios.
Ciao.
I'm gonna go give her the Heimlich. Bye bye.